Alright guys, so this is going to be the beginning of a custom enclosure for the leopard geckos, and if you can read, you know in the title that I'm going for a bioactive enclosure. So, step one right here that I'm doing, you can see some of the styrofoam, is I'm cutting out styrofoam blocks. I have a template of the cardboard that is going to be actually attached to the back here, and these are going to be glued on, everything will be sealed, so the humidity, it'll be very minor humidity, but nothing will rot. And so, you know, I'm going along. This is going to be one of the bottom pieces right there, and I've just got a ton of styrofoam cut up, and I'm going to show you guys right now the process that I'm using to make these shapes, make some pits in it. I'm going to give this one a little bit more texture on the surface here in a minute, but I'm going to skip to the next piece so you can see the full. Alright guys, so I'm just using a razor blade to loosely cut out the shape I want. It doesn't have to go all the way through, so we're just going to snap the pieces. And all these little scraps, don't lose them. You'll be able to use that to fill in blank spots. So then you're going to be left with this right here. I'm going to see if I can prop the camera up. I have no form of tripod for my phone, and I'm just using my phone nowadays to record. Well, I guess I'll kind of show you. This isn't going to be the most professional video right here, but you're going to get the idea. So I'm going to go along this edge right here. I'm going to trim it down so there are no hard edges, and it's all rolled like that right there. You know, trim that, but leave this bottom piece flat. All the corner pieces, make sure you keep those in a separate pile so you can make all the edges of your vivarium. And then I'm just going to go through and stab and pull, make the texture on the face, and then I'll get back to you. A little bit something like this. Now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut out the rest of this template because there's no point in you guys sitting here watching me cut out each and every single piece. I don't want this to be a massive video. But yeah, so there's that. And then I'm going to pretty much just keep doing that, and I'll get back to you guys. It's probably going to take me like an hour. And it's going to be a huge mess. That's why I'm doing it inside the cage. Alright guys, so I've already gone ahead and glued a couple of these chunks on. Obviously not all of them. But I was just making sure that things worked, putting things in their places, and kind of just messing around and overall getting ahead of myself. So basically, all you're going to want to do is just lay down some thick lines of a low temperature burning glue. Not burning, a low temp melting glue. You can use several kinds of glue, but the thing with styrofoam is that a lot of glues will just eat through the stuff, and that's obviously not preferable. It just melts it real bad. And so then, you know, you're just taking your pieces, laying them in the right direction, and then putting them down, and you can just slowly watch your rock work come together. So like I said, I'm going to go ahead and stop here, continue doing it, because I only cut out the big pieces. That way I can more freehand some of the interior pieces, because the more freehand that you do with just chunks, and you go ahead and rip them with your fingers, the less lines and planning. I mean, planning is obviously very important, but you can see my template is a lot different than some of the rocks that I've already put in. And that's not bad, that's very good. So, you know, just do things as you see fit as you go, and you'll actually get a very good product. So I will resume when we are about done putting everything out. I forgot that I had no paint, so I had to make a quick trip to the store, picked up everything I need, and I'm going to try and prop this up while I paint, and we're going to try and get a nice, oops, sorry about that, a nice sped up clip of me doing some of this stuff. I'll stop the sped upness, I don't know what to call that. I'll stop that every now and then if I have something important I want to talk about, etc. So, let's go ahead and get started. Alright guys, so next step here is going to be to black out the cardboard. You don't want to be able to see any of this, obviously. And a little black around the edges of this is going to be a good... I lost my train of thought. It'll look good, trust me. And then I'm going to dry brush a little bit of black around the edges. I'm going to pick out all these little glue strands because hot glue likes to ruin projects like this. But that'll be fine, actually. There's going to be a lot of coverage in between these cracks that you guys haven't seen yet, so stay tuned. And I found something that works great with acrylic is to honestly just drip it in there. There's clearly something blocking this, so I'll have to check on that. But if you just drip it in there, you get a lot more coverage, and a thick layer of this paint isn't going to ruin anything. As long as you don't have any bubbles, bubbles won't dry in acrylic. They'll stay kind of mushy for a really long time. It's never preferable. And I don't really think I'm going to do what I said earlier. I don't think I'm going to go ahead and do the the fast forward a little bit there. I'm going to show you guys techniques that I'm going to use. I'll show you on some of the highlight pieces, like here in the center, this piece right here I'm excited to do. You know, I'll show you the steps I take. I'll do one with you guys, but the rest I'm just going to do. It'll just make it easier. I don't have a tripod. I didn't think this through. So yeah, this is all we're doing right now. Going around, and you know, this is what dry brushing means. You're going to see me do this a lot. You're going to hear me say it. So essentially, there's not a lot of paint on here, okay? And you're going to go ahead and just go like this, and it just gives you a little bit of a shadow effect around the edges, but we can do that last. And these little bits, you're going to want to make sure you get those out of there too. So, I'll see you guys. So this is what we're left with for now. You want to really be meticulous and cram those edges. Oh, that hurt my ankle. I see a little bit that I didn't get right there as I speak. Just like this. Just get it all coated. You don't want to see any more cardboard, because if you put this in an enclosure and you see cardboard, you're going to hate yourself. Trust me. I am going to be using a lot of cover in here. Not cover, but coverage over this, so it's not going to be just plain black looking at you. There's going to be a lot of mosses. Fake moss, obviously. Nothing will grow on cardboard. Put in there. It's going to look great. I'm going to love it. You're going to love it. And so that's what we got for now. So I'm going to pause this, get my paints ready, and we're going to start on... We're going to use this rock right here as the example. So, let's get to it. Alright, so you're going to want to start with a nice healthy glob of your base color that you're using. You're going to want to really make sure that it gets into these crevices. That's all that's really important. You know, obviously, if you want full coverage, if you're just wanting to stick to one color and you're not going to add a ton of detail to it like I'm doing, then full coverage, obviously. But for me, I want the pits brown, and you guys will see why as soon as this layer of paint dries and we add the next. So every little dimple, you guys couldn't even see that, I'm so sorry. Every little dimple that we tore into this is when it's going to start to pop. This is when it's going to start looking like rocks for you. So really work it in there, and me personally, I'm not afraid to beat the living hell out of my brushes because I lose them. No matter how many times I buy art boxes, you know, etc., to sort out all my stuff, I will lose my brushes. It doesn't matter. And so it doesn't matter to me. I'm probably going to lose these in a week anyway, but that's not really doing any damage, as it is. If you're a painter and you're offended, I am terribly sorry. So basically, you're going to keep doing that until you are satisfied with your pits, and you'll see why in about 10 seconds. So I'm going to pause this, do some touch-ups, and then we're going to add the next step for me is going to be to dip your brush in just the slightest amount of black paint, and then brush most of it off. You can go ahead and do some more edges. You can see brown there, but this is going to be the bottom, so it's not massively important to me. And then you're going to do that little dry brushing thing I told you about, and it's just going to make some of the edges of your rock look ever so slightly darker. Add some more detail into the pits while you're at it. Some black around the pits will make this look great. Just use the corner. It's okay if it's everywhere else. Now that we're back to a little bit of a drier brush, I'm going to go ahead and just run that over. Really trying to blend it. Some parts are going to be darker than others. That's beautiful. That's how you want it. Alright, and so then we're going to let that dry. Alright guys, and I already started just so I can get a little bit of an idea, play with the colors. At first I tried mixing my gray with a little bit more black, and I don't like that. That's a little bit too dark for me. But then I used just a little bit of this gray. I wish I would have gone for a silver. That probably would have looked a little bit better. But we're not dry brushing this on. We are just skimming over the surface with it. We don't want to get into those pits, because those pits are going to be what's brown, and that's going to give us a really good amount of detail. So, that's where I'm going to leave you guys, and I'm going to start painting the rest. Wish me luck. It's going to take forever. So I have finished the base coat. You can still see a little bit of styrofoam. That's fine, because we're going to go in and make all of those look like that one right there. And so while we're waiting for this to dry, because I'm impatient, and if I don't do something, I'm going to end up accidentally just painting everything over wet paint. we're going to go ahead and start mixing up our substrates. We're going to put the tank up where it's going to go. We're going to start getting things moving. So some regular old, I'm drawing a blank, you know, so it doesn't really matter. Wow. Eco-earth, that's the word for it. We're using some eco-earth, there's going to be some sand, and we're using excavator clay to form one specific tunnel around some cork bark that I've purchased to create the basking spot, which will be underground, which I think is a pretty cool aspect. You see some leaves and dirt and whatnot in here, because this is the same bucket that I used to gather my substrate that's going to be bioactive. It's actually compost from my compost bin that's been sitting. I stopped composting, I removed the good compost, and what's left is just perfect for insects, and so it was just full of isopods and springtails, etc. So I gathered up a lot of those. They're sitting in the cage right now, and I'll show you all that when this eco-earth is ready. Alright guys, so I've gone ahead and added the rest of the texturing and whatnots and whose else's, and you can see I added a little bit of green and whatnot, and as you can also see there's a lot of white from the styrofoam still visible. That's easy to fix. Here's what I'm going to do. I went ahead and picked up a bunch of these sheets of dead dried moss from Home Depot. They sell them over where they sell just, you know, the plants. A lot of people like to put these around the bases of their plants. It's hard to do with one hand, which is why I've been doing cut and takes instead of a rolling video. Gonna get a chunk of moss. We're gonna glue that in place, and then we're gonna get another chunk of moss. Now, obviously, I'm not gonna leave all these loose, hangy strands and whatnot. We're gonna glue that in place as well. And then, next time you guys see this background, actually, I just skipped over a massive step. You're not gonna do that yet. That would defeat the purpose. So obviously, guys, this is made of styrofoam and cardboard, and no amount of acrylic paint is going to permanently protect cardboard from even the slightest bit of moisture. So what we're gonna do is use some gloss Mod Podge. Alright, it is a water-based sealer, glue, and finish, and a lot of people use these on puzzles. It's essentially a varnish. If you know what a wood varnish is, it's pretty similar, and there's not going to be a lot of humidity, so I'm not going to go out of my way to use a very expensive sealant. And, you know, stuff like epoxy is great, but it'll melt right through this styrofoam. And so, you know, this is going to be our best option for now. So, actually, I almost started gluing this stuff in place, like the glue gun's on, before I even sealed it, so that's bad. But now I'm going to show you guys this, just since we're here. This NOS. I bought it at Home Depot. They're so good. I'm actually talking about the succulents. So, just picked up a nice variety succulent. It was like 10 bucks, so that's actually a really good deal. And then this guy, which is just growing like crazy in his own pot. I love it. And so I'm going to plant these all around the enclosure. It's going to look awesome. And that piece of cork bark, it has another side, a couple tunnels. That's what we're going to use the excavator clay for. And I'll go ahead and show you. This is going to be their enclosure. I believe it's a 40-gallon breeder. It was given to me when I rescued a friend's snake. So, this is just compost. It looks like dirt, but this stuff at one point was a whole bunch of different organic materials. I love it. Oh, obviously, it's all natural. You can see nice big isopod. You might know them as roly-polies or pill bugs. They're just rolling through. They're confused. They're trying to find out what's going on. So I'm going to mix that in with some sand and my eco-earth. And then obviously the potting soil from plants. That's going to need to be buried because, oh my gosh. Would you look at all them? They're feasting on something. How did I not notice that? See? They're already doing work. They're eating some sort of dead leaf. This is why I love isopods in an enclosure. So, I will pick back up when the paint is fully dry and we can start using the Mod Podge to seal it. Alright guys, so we've got a couple coats of this Mod Podge on. Some of it's still a little bit more wet than others. It leaves a little bit of a white residue. As it goes on white and dries clear. And I'm just hitting this with a hairdryer. Getting it nice and completely dry. It's already got a nice gloss to it. And here, in maybe 5-10 minutes for me, we're going to start adding the moss. So, let's get to that. Alright guys, so we've got this nice and mossed in throughout the entirety of it. Nice couple chunks of this longer moss that I picked up, and it looks fantastic. I'm just going through and ripping out some of these long strands of glue. Checking out a couple other places I can stuff that moss just to make it look nice and complete. It was very tedious. My legs hurt, my arms hurt, my fingers hurt. I've used so much glue, but we're done. So let's go ahead and add this to the enclosure. Right, guys, so this is the finished product that we're looking at right now. I know I didn't show you the actual process of me making this with the excavator clay, but I'm going to explain it. I just knew for a fact that I would not be able to do that with one hand. And stopping to take videos with my hands all covered in that clay stuff would have really not worked that well. So this is what we're going to have to roll with. This is the Sand EcoEarth excavator clay mix. It's actually a really nice and compact now. The excavator clay is going to hold it together, and it's going to be more like a clay sand than it is dirt. But then obviously where all the succulents are, they have the right amount of soil around them so that they can continue to grow. You know, there's a couple different kinds. I have no idea what the names for succulents are. I know that I love the look so far. And then, you know, you look down, there's this piece of cork bark. And so what actually happens is, that's a tunnel, oh, that's a tunnel right there, and that's another one right there. They both lead to the center right there. And in the center, it's just, it's just the cutoff of a log. And I decided to use the excavator clay and some cardboard to hold it temporarily. I decided to use that to turn the whole thing into a tunnel, which leads to an under the tank heater. So the under the tank heater is obviously going to be their basking spot. It's going to provide a nice, warm, cozy area for them right here. It should heat up very nicely. And I made a little hole right there. It's going to make a, just a secondary spot for them to get in and out of. It's also going to make sure the thing doesn't turn into an oven and, let some of that heat escape. Inside of this one, there's also a bunch of sphagnum moss tucked in there, so that's going to act as their cool and moist hide. This is going to be their warm, dry hide right here. This whole stretch will be a warm, dry hide. And then, the further they get, it'll be warm and humid, and then just humid. This is a about a 13-watt UVB bulb that we've got going right there. And I'm hoping that takes care of the succulents just fine. Something that I'm actually about to add, just not 100% sure on where, is I want to add some kind of branch just right across this little area, just to let them actually give them more of the ability to bask in the UVB, see if that's something that they enjoy. I'm not sure, but I'm extremely excited. I'm just going to give this overnight, let it all dry, check on this tomorrow, take the cardboard out, make sure it holds, and then I'm probably going to let it sit for another couple hours, or even until I get off work. And then we'll go ahead and add these guys in there. I really like it. The humidity's not crazy in there. Obviously, it's a little high because everything is still wet, so that's another reason we're letting it dry out. And this hasn't gotten fully up to temp, their basking area. So I'm going to, let things settle, see how everything goes. I'm really, really hopeful that everything's going to do great. I think this just looks fantastic, though. I think it looks absolutely fantastic. I love it. And as these succulents grow in, I'm really hoping that I'm able to just move them around, because if you didn't know, you can actually just prick the little buds off of them, and you can stick them, like a couple of them that broke off. You see that random one right over there. When they break off, you can just stick them in the ground. So I'm hoping to have a nice little thing going. Those guys right there, I know they're going to grow upwards. I'm really hoping to see them grow up the sides a lot. This guy's also going to grow pretty high upwards. This one's going to be good ground cover. These two will also be good ground cover, and I'm not too sure about these two, so we'll see. Yeah, this is obviously their water bowl. This is probably the first time I have ever actually purchased a water bowl for any of my reptiles ever. I don't do it because I find that I can get a Tupperware for half the price that does the same thing. But, just for the sake of the setup, I didn't really want to have a piece of Tupperware in there. And now for those of you guys who have never seen my channel before, let's go over here, and I'll show you who's going to be living in here. Two of my female leopard geckos. I love these guys. So much personality. They're little raptors. They're amazing little pets. I love them so much. And they do fine in a tub setup. Dry hide, moist hide, warm hide, water. Throw crickets in there. They do fine. They love it. Thing is, like I said, they've just got so much personality. This one, he'll come up and eat a cricket out of your fingers, just like that. And I just love it. They're still young, so I wanted to throw them in there. It's a 40-gallon tank. It'll be more than enough for the two of them. And, they're used to no light cycle and belly heat, so all I'm really changing is the decor and a light cycle. Yeah, see, he'll just come up just like this. He loves to come out. He's even tripoded before. She. I don't know why I'm calling him a he. But yeah, I love these little things. I can't wait to see them in their new enclosure tomorrow. So thank you guys all for watching so much. If you want to see any of my other content, definitely check out the channel. If you've watched all the way through, good for you. And thank you. And so, I guess I'll just try and kind of give you guys a shot. It's really dark, obviously, in the tunnels, but that, you can kind of see, leads right out to another exit in the back. This whole area, pretty much, this whole thing is hollow. And they're going to be able to get in there and bask. There's obviously clay up the walls, but I'm just going to wait until everything's done setting up to wipe that off, so I don't want to ruin it. I do not want to ruin anything. Originally, I was going to stack excavator clay from here up, and then I was thinking that that was a massive waste, because this is just the side, there's no real support it gets from that. So I just filled it with some eco earth. I think it looks just fine. I was heavily considering extending the background to these sides too. I kind of regret not doing it. I regret not buying a silver and getting a green, not buying a silver and getting a gray instead. But you know what? I think the moss really makes up for that. I think it looks fantastic. And I can't wait to update you guys on how this goes in the future. So, alright, we'll see you next time.